There's a lot of tourist destinations in the world. Paris, Rome, Madrid, London. But what about the countries that don't get attention? What are they like? Who goes there? And what is it like in a country that nobody visits? I decided I wanted to find out, to go off the beaten bush and to travel to a place where no one really goes. So I did some research and I found my next destination, the least visited country in Europe. I booked my flight, grabbed my camera and jumped on a 4-hour train before catching my flight to the least visited country in Europe. Moldova is a country that I, for one, had never really heard much about. I was aware of the country existing, but past that I had no clue. Here I was in Chisinau, the capital city of Moldova, a country where less than 300,000 tourists go a year, a far cry from the millions who visit France, Spain and Italy. One question I kept asking myself was why? Why? Why did this country not get as many tourists? Walking around it was a nice place, very green, dogs, families with some beautiful parks, and overall the city was very, very clean. Exploring more of the city I found beautiful statues, buildings, bustling cafes and everything that makes a great city. But why? Why was Moldova the least visited country in Europe? Why was this country not on anybody's radar? So I did a little bit of research. A quick Google search will tell you that Moldova's lack of tourism is due to a lack of tourist infrastructure. Within the country, the government does not promote tourism at all, and, well, being there wasn't much tourist activities to do. The areas which were touristy were all self-reliant, and even the museums were extremely limited. And that's not all. Despite being the least visited country in Europe, Moldova is also the poorest country in Europe. Over 31% of people live under the poverty line, with the average Moldovan taking home only $750 a month. Another important reason? Corruption. Moldova is also one of the most corrupt countries in Europe. According to reports, 37% of the population reported paying a bribe in 2010. Chisinau, the capital city, has also been the victim of a massive $1 billion bank fraud, prompting a huge governmental attempt to reduce corruption within the country. Due to all of this, Moldova has unfortunately gained a negative reputation, one associated with crime, poverty and instability. Therefore, the government's failure to promote tourism, come to Chisinau, combined with the stereotypes associated with Moldova, has made the country a very unpopular destination for many. However, there is another reason why people don't visit, or in fact, why they're scared to. Transnistria is a breakaway state in the very east of Moldova bordering Ukraine, and Transnistria doesn't officially exist. It's unrecognized by every single country in the world, including Moldova and even Russia, who provide support for it. Yeah, it has its own border, its own army, its own currency, and this place is, well, very real. Coming here felt like stepping back in time, exactly how I imagined the Soviet Union would have been. Right in front of the main city hall there's a statue of Lenin, standing proud and tall. Military parades are common, and in fact one happened just a week before I arrived here in Transnistria. There's even a park called Victory Park which commemorates a Soviet victory in World War II. You'll find Soviet red stars, hammering sickles, and everything that feels like you've just time traveled back to the USSR. Crossing into Transnistria, however, isn't always easy. There's been reports of nightmares at the border where foreign nationals have been detained and questioned. There's a very strict time limit on how long you're allowed to stay, and if it's longer than 3 days, you need to get governmental permission. There's no embassies here and there's no support. In fact, the UK government actually advises against all travel to Transnistria. If something goes wrong, well, you're on your own. Given all the above, most people stay away. I, however, wanted to see why Transnistria was so dangerous and, more importantly, why this affected the amount of tourists that visit Moldova. So what was it actually like inside Transnistria? Well, it wasn't dangerous. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't some war-torn dictatorship where I feared for my safety. In fact, it was calm, peaceful, and just frozen in time. Of course, the Soviet legacy is everywhere. The statues, the red stars, the hammering sickles, and yes, there's a strong military presence and parades and marches. But most importantly, it feels like a place that history has forgot. A place that's frozen in time. Once you're inside, life goes on. I saw people walking their dogs, going out with friends and family, old people walking hand in hand by the river, cafes serving coffee, and bars and restaurants, just like anywhere else. Transnistria might not officially exist, but to the people who live here, it's very real. They have their own identity, their own currency, their own institutions. To them, this is their country and their home. Whilst I was in Transnistria, I got talking to a couple of people, and when I said that I was from the West, when I was from the UK, and I said that, you know, the government advises against all travel here, that it's deemed as dangerous, they were shocked. They couldn't believe it. They said the only thing about this place is it's very quiet, very boring, but to them, seeing Transnistria as dangerous was something completely obscure. The fear surrounding Transnistria from the government officials, travel advisories, definitely paints the region as unpredictable and hostile. But honestly, I felt safer here than many other cities I've visited. The streets are very, very quiet, the people are very polite, and it was just a very chill place. The bigger issue faced by Transnistria is not necessarily danger, but it's isolation from the world. Because no one recognizes Transnistria, it's stuck in a kind of limbo. No embassies, no real access to international aid or publicity, no official tourism industry. It's like a country caught between worlds. Not Moldova, not Russia, not Ukraine, not anything, just Transnistria. But that isolation doesn't just affect Transnistria, it also impacts Moldova too. The existence of Transnistria, a disputed region, and its Soviet legacy definitely makes Moldova feel unstable to outsiders. Within the country, it's a normal thing to go from Chisinau to Tiraspol, the capital city of Transnistria. But to tourists, it's another reason to stay away, and one more headline that puts people off visiting. Being there and seeing it with my own eyes definitely changed my perspective. Transnistria isn't dangerous, it's just misunderstood. And that's what makes this part of the world so fascinating. Not the politics, not the fear, but the reality. A place few people go where life continues. And it was very, very fascinating to see the way of life. It was like stepping into the past, and I really enjoyed it.